Throughout the original Mass Effect Trilogy, Shepard travels all around the galaxy, recruiting all kinds of individuals to join the effort in stopping the Reaper threat. These individuals are at first strangers, but soon enough we've made them our friends, and they sort of become an extra family to both Shepard and us as players. However, there are certain events and implications that has us saying permanent goodbyes to several of these friends we've made throughout Shepard's journey, aliens and non-aliens alike. So the question becomes, will we ever see these characters again? How's it going, guys? MrHulthen here, and today we're going to be looking at the possibility of us getting reintroduced to some of our old squad mates in the next Mass Effect game. But before we do that, remember to smash like and subscribe so we can grow this channel even more. And if you feel like it, you could always become a member. And a special thanks to the Ensven squad members. Alright, let's get right into today's topic. So what are these certain events and implications that I was talking about earlier? Well, let's list some of these off, and let's start with Mass Effect 1. As most of you know, well hopefully since you played the first Mass Effect, Shepard starts off his or her journey together with Ashley Williams and Kaidan Alenko, only to later have to choose between either saving Ashley or Kaidan before the bomb on Virmire goes off. In which case, whoever gets left behind on Virmire will be the first actual squad mate to not make it into any of the Mass Effect sequels. Virmire is also the very same place where we risk losing Rex, as he can turn on Shepard for wanting to destroy Saren's Krogan cloning facility.
Really? Saren created a cure for my people. You want to destroy it. Help me out here, Shepard. The lines between friend and foe are getting a little blurry from where I stand.
As we move into Mass Effect 2, this game is actually where we recruit most of the familiar faces in Mass Effect, like Grunt, Jack, Mordin, Legion, Miranda, Jacob, just to name a few. The most obvious case of someone we're definitely not going to be seeing again in the future is Thane Krios, as we later learn in Mass Effect 2 that he suffers from an incurable disease that will one day claim his life, which we experience firsthand in Mass Effect 3. But then we also have the last mission in Mass Effect 2, the so-called suicide mission to the Collector base. Aside from being one of the most epic final showdowns in gaming history, it's also one of the most impactful, because this is where each and every squad mate that you've gathered so far, including your friends from Mass Effect 1 like Garrus and Tali, can actually die. The only ones not in risk of dying here is Liara and the Virmire survivor, since they're not in Shepard's team by then. But let's, for the sake of argument, assume that everyone in your team survived the mission to the Collector base. What then? Well, in Mass Effect 3, the story can go all kinds of ways. First of all, if Rex was alive after Virmire in Mass Effect 1, he is still in the risk of dying here, since you, as Shepard, can betray Rex by sabotaging the genophage cure.
Visitors are prohibited from bringing weapons into the... What are you doing?
I know what you did.
We can provide you our very best scientists to build the Crucible, and the full support of our fleets.
If I sabotage the cure.
Think about it, Commander. The choice is yours.
Where did you get that?
Mordin wasn't my only source in STG. Or did you think I was as dumb as my brother, Reeve?
In which case, Rex will come after you, which forces Shepard to kill him. If the genophage was successfully cured, Mordin will instead give his life to make this possible. Then we have Grunt, who leads a team of Krogan badasses on a planet infested with Reaperized Rachni. If you didn't do his loyalty mission in Mass Effect 2, he can actually die here by sacrificing himself for Shepard. Moving on from our Krogan squad mates, we then have the Quarian and Geth war going on, where we lose Legion no matter what we do. He sacrifices himself for the collective Geth intelligence, and, well, that's the end of his journey if he made it that far. We can also lose Tali during this mission, depending on if the Quarian fleet survives or not. And of course we have the Virmire survivor, that being either Kaidan or Ashley. During the Priority Citadel 2 mission, the Virmire survivor can also die here if he or she doesn't listen to Shepard. Now I also want to mention Javik, as in his conversation with Shepard about the memory shard, Javik will state that he wants to return to where his old squad died and take his own life. He will only say this if Shepard tells him to touch the shard to relive his memories. So how likely is it that we'll see any of them for Mass Effect 4 or 5? Now this is where the time gap comes in. I've mentioned this in several videos already, but according to hints given by project director Mike Gamble, the next Mass Effect game might be a sequel to both Mass Effect 3 and Mass Effect Andromeda. And if this turns out to be the case, then this fact alone will probably kill off several of our beloved squadmates off screen. Why? Well, because when the gigantic arcs left the Milky Way for the Andromeda Galaxy, it was just before the Reaper War in Mass Effect 3, and the arcs didn't reach Andromeda until more than 600 years later. Now this is a gigantic issue for some of our old crew. Fan favorites like Garrus, Tali, Joker, Javik, and basically every human you knew from the original trilogy would be, well, for a lack of a better word, gone since a long time. This is because we know that except for the Krogan and the Asari, no other race in the Mass Effect universe has a lifespan of over 150 years. So let's for the sake of argument say that BioWare chose to canonize the best possible playthrough of the Mass Effect trilogy. That being most squadmates survived, the GETH-Quarian War was solved peacefully, the Krogan genophage was cured, and Shepard chose to destroy the Reapers with enough military strength to take a breath after the credits. How could Mass Effect 4 then be a sequel to both Mass Effect Andromeda and Mass Effect 3? Well, I'd start off by saying that it might not even be a real sequel per se to Mass Effect Andromeda. It could be very possible that the mission to Andromeda and maybe Ryder will be mentioned in Mass Effect 4 and that it's not discarded completely. The story could then be placed just after the Reaper War or a few years after that, since it looks like the galaxy has been somewhat rebuilt considering we see a mass relay being built in the concept art and this new shiny white ship that's teased on the official poster. So if this is the case, then most of our squad could have survived the ending of Mass Effect 3. Well, except the squadmate that died on Vermeer, Thane, Morden, and Legion. I mean, it's not impossible to do. Some of the squad could be making their way back into our team. But then it couldn't be a true sequel to Mass Effect Andromeda, which, as I understand it, most of you would seem fine with. But honestly, I think it's highly improbable. Best case scenario would be that we would get cameos and mentions of our squadmates, dead or alive. Either that, or we would have to accept the fact that not every choice in the original trilogy could be referenced. Because that is another issue that people seem to be expecting, that the old trilogy will be referenced heavily, especially if we're to play as Commander Shepard again. And as much as I'd love for this to happen, that would have to take an immense amount of planning and effort to do for BioWare. The biggest issue is always going to be the writing. BioWare really needs to knock it out of the park by creating new and memorable individuals for the next game. But here's a big but. I also strongly believe that us as fans have to give them a chance first, and let them create a sequel after the next Mass Effect has been released. Because fact of the matter is that none of the original crew were perfectly written characters in Mass Effect 1. It wasn't until I played Mass Effect 2 that I fell in love with them as characters, because we had gotten to know them by then. Still, it wouldn't hurt with some nostalgia bait, would it? But I want to know what you guys think. Will we be seeing Garrus and Tali? And heck, maybe most of the entire original team? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, have a great day. MrHulthen signing out.